Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. So today we are going to be, as seen on screen, trying to predict the Premier League for the 25-26 season. We are going to put a little bit of logic into this with game week 1 now just behind us. Literally, as I'm recording this, the Everton Leeds game has just concluded. And we were doing this off of how people have played and the transfers that teams have made. So, we are going to start with, in alphabetical order, Arsenal. So, they have brought in a fair few lot of people. God, this is bright, and my pasty white arse shouldn't be reflecting on the screen. So, equip some sunglasses, ladies and gentlemen, because I am about to burn your head off. I think they've invested smart, in my opinion. They've got Kepa as a backup goalkeeper. He was good last season for Bournemouth. They brought Zubimendi in, who, to be fair, Liverpool were after, and will slot in and be that CDM presence that they need to let Declan Rice be free in the... Yeah. So, Chris Norgard is actually a really good signing, really good backup signing, especially like considering his age and everything. Because he ranked in high tackles, he will be what they need to like break the lines. And if Zubimendi needs time to rest, he's not too far down, like of a downgrade. He's actually can control tempo and everything. Noni Madueke is a very interesting signing though, where he's a right winger. He won't get a lot of minutes because they have Saka. And can he actually play left wing when Martinelli isn't firing and the uncertainty of Trossard? I don't know. So I don't know if it's worth the 52 million. And then they've got Mosquera and the big one, Gyökeres. Mosquera adds some defensive depth to the likes of Saliba, and then they have Gabriel, and then they have Kivior. So really good in terms of depth. And then Gyökeres, I think this signing all depends on the adaptiveness of Mikel Arteta. And in my opinion, he should be under a lot of pressure because it's now, year fucking 6 of the Arsenal project. And he is mussed up second place. And now that they have got what they needed in a direct striker, it's how are you going to utilise him? Someone who was very sought after. And he didn't look good versus Man United. He looked very clunky. So, yeah, I think they've got all the ingredients. I just don't think they will be able to pull the trigger. So that's why, for mine, I'm going to put Champions League football either second or third. Because I think Man City might be here to stay. Then we go on to Aston Villa. FFP's greatest culprits. Aston Villa have been hit by FFP a lot. Because of their spending and all that. But they have made 2 signings and potentially a third crucial one in the coming days. But this is recorded pre-whatever transfer this is. I think Mark Bizot, despite coming on a free from Brest, Mikovich's favourite team, and this Evan Gusand is a very Emery player, can play multiple different positions, can play left wing, striker, and I think right wing. I've seen him play for Nice. So, and for like a fairly decent price. So, I think he'll be a good signing to deputise for Watkins, because Watkins doesn't always fire on all 4 cylinders. And Bizot is a very good backup keeper, as we've seen versus Newcastle on the first game week. Very direct keeper, very involved, got to everything, didn't make Newcastle's chances look like they were well beaters. So, very good deputy keeper, especially as Olsen for them last season and even in previous seasons. He is just... the less said about him, the better, honestly. And I think the third signing of potentially getting Marco Asensio from PSG, I think that's where you can start to debate that. I would say that they would be challenging for top 4 if they get him, because they don't have any depth on that right. Emery doesn't trust Leon Bailey, so I think getting him will be a very key part to the puzzle. So I'm going to go with, in the current standings, I'm going to go 6th-ish for them. I don't think they'll perform as well. They've got Europa League, and I don't think they've got the most amazing amount of depth for that. And now this is a very, very interesting one in Bournemouth. Bournemouth last season were really, really good. I think they finished 8th or 9th. But they have had some very key players leave in Zabrani, Kirkes and Huijsen, and they obviously they don't have Kepa this season. So that's literally the core of their defence gone in one window. And they've not exactly replaced them. Obviously, you can't get the level of like Huijsen. Huijsen was just different gravy. And they've had the likes of Otara just leave to Brentford in the last couple of days. And Neto leave as like a backup keeper, and Mark Travers. So I don't think they'll do as well. I'm going to say maybe 12th, 11th or 12th. But then again, versus Liverpool, they looked really good. But you can't rely on the likes of Semenyo all season. But I do think Diakate is not too bad. Petrovic, good keeper, and the fact that they've got him on starting minutes, I think he'll actually do as good, if not better, than Kepa. Truffet, it's to be seen. He has come from the French league, so always might be a little bit of a step. But I do think a very key one here is, yes, he's only made like 10 senior appearances in the Prem for Liverpool, but Doak, which was announced, I think, this morning, the day I'm recording it, I think he'll be really good. Very direct player, very much Semenyo's counterpart, and I think he could definitely play off the left as well. So, or even move Semenyo to the left, and then Semenyo can also play up top. So I think in terms of depth, I think they've got it covered. They've got well. I just think defensively they might be a little bit more shaky. I mean, Senesi was trying to play fucking basketball, for crying out loud. So I'll go mid-table, but I'd put them in like 10th, 11th maybe. And then here we have a team that I think are going to struggle, especially after getting walloped, is Brentford. They lost key players like Mbeumo, Norgard, Fleckin, Ben Mee, and I think letting Ben Mee go was a bad decision, because he may be old, but he's a Premier League centre back. And then Visser probably leaving as well to go to Newcastle because they need a fucking striker. Liverpool have shafted you there. I don't know what to expect from them. They got Kelleher in, who I think once like settled and getting a rhythm in, he'll be good. Otara, I don't know. He probably could, like, once he gets run of form, because we've seen that last season. Run of form, he's quite good. Jordan Henderson, I think he's just not Premier League level anymore. And then they've brought in players that I don't actually really know too much more about. So they're on a lot of people's lists to go down, but I think they'll just survive. I think they'll be like 17th maybe, and then they'll need a big summer ahead. But I do like that they've promoted from within, because it keeps the same club ethos alive. We move on to Brighton. They have had a lot of outgoings, but also a lot of incomings. So outgoings, key ones are Evan Ferguson, Adingra. Don't know why they sold Adingra. I personally rate him so highly. João Pedro, Estupinha. And yeah, so they lost a lot of depth, but they did replace quite well with Maximin Decipher. He looks good. Bostacali is also a very good centre-back, to see how he adapts. And then a load of other little players here. So, and then a new striker who's cost a lot, so let's see how he fits in. And yeah, so I think they'll be in and around it again this season. So I'm going to put them mid-table. I'll put them just above. So I think they'll be like, I think they'll just miss out on like European football. This will change as we go along the way. So then we go to Burnley. Burnley. I don't think Scott Parker is cut out for the Prem. They lost, in my opinion, 3 very key players in Egan Riley, Josh Brownhill, and James Trafford. Trafford is insane. Brownhill was always just the pillar, and he literally probably dragged them through the last season of the Championship. And Egan Riley is probably one of the better up-and-coming centre-backs in English football. And they replaced him with Kyle Walker, who is 35, and that's all I'm going to say. Then they got Tanswaby, Jaden Anthony from Bournemouth, Marcus Edwards, who I think might be a saving grace, Zayan Fleming, and then ones that I think could be quite good and could help them at least not look like Southampton last season is Martin Dubravka. I think he's an underrated keeper. Leslie Ugochukwu, he's quite good, and if utilised correct defensively, he'll be good. And Armania Broha, yes, he has been hindered with a lot of injuries, but when he was firing, he is a bit of a fucking monster. But in my opinion, it be gone, back to the Championship. Like, they just never recruit well. In my opinion, they always try and go outside the box, or like, no, they don't go outside the box. They stay too linear, and I don't see a 5-back working in the fucking Prem, especially how defensively they set up versus Spurs. And then we have Chelsea. Chelsea are looking decent-ish. They bought in Jamie Gins, João Pedro, Liam Delap, Hato, Esteval, Esugu. I don't know who that Sar is, and that Paredes has already been loaned out. But basically, I think they've recruited very well. They've got 2 strikers, and one of them can play as a second striker to play in wingers like Palmer, Neto. Not Gittins, he's more of a dribbling type. And then they've got Hato, who can play left back and centre back. Don't know why Chelsea fans are fucking crying right now. You've got a centre back, shut up. And wait for the others to not be injured. Liam Delap, I think he's taking a big step, so give him a little bit of time. I think they'll have João Pedro to start with, but I think in games like the Palace game, they needed Liam Delap. Gittins, I think it gives them that depth that they need, and I think he'll be good, but I think Neto still starts over him. And then that Esteval looks a little... He actually looks like a little bit of a baller, you know. So for them, Chelsea, I think... Champions League football. I think they'll get 4th. Again, I think they've got a good enough squad to do so. They've got Andre Santos coming back as well, so he can be Enzo Fernandez's replacement. And on days like where Enzo Fernandez wasn't firing, like versus Palace, he'll do quite well. So I'm going to put them for 4th. And then Crystal Palace are a very, 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 very interesting one. Because I think they might be screwed in a minute. Because it looks like Gay's leaving. And I hope he comes to Liverpool because, my God, we need him. And Eze looks to be leaving as well, as Tottenham this morning have put in an official bid for him. And they have signed no one. They signed Sosa, who was good at Stuttgart, has been terrible for Ajax. And then Walter Benitez is a good second keeper for European football. But they are going into European football. Yes, it may be the Conference League, but you need depth. And I do not see that with, Sarr, Kamada, Mateta, and Edouard and Esse as your attacking depth. No one to deputise. If Munoz gets injured or needs a rest. Midfield, I don't think is too good. Defence, I think they need like another centre-back. So I just think European football might kill them. And I think somewhere like 14th might be a suitable place for them. And then we move to Everton. There's always a suspicion, like new stadium, they'll always go down. But I think they have signed extremely well. They couldn't rely on Beto, and they've lost Calvert-Lewin. So you signed Theon Barry. One of the people I think is very good. Charlie Alcaraz, also very good in terms of is very complaining about all positions and everything. Dewsbury Hall is one that I think severely underrated, and he will fit, he's like that midfield bit that they'll need. And then they've got a good backup keeper in Mark Travers. That Azunu is a backup left back. And then the big one, Grealish. Njai in the middle, or him in the middle, or Grealish on the left. And then on the right, I don't give a shit who you put there. I think Grealish will have a lot of freedom there, will play a lot of good football there, and he will get consistent minutes. And when he gets consistent minutes, he will come good. So, I'm not saying they're going to set the world alight, but I think they might get like 11th and like push up and then be able to get more players in. Fulham, mid-table. They've signed fucking no one. Like, you had a good season. You've got one striker, if that. And you've signed Lecomte as a backup goalkeeper. Be gone. Somewhere down here. Yeah, somewhere there. So, and then we move on to Leeds. Oh. Calvert-Lewin's joined them. Breaking news. I think they did a stupid and let Firpo go. I think that was a really bad move. But they have signed well. Anton Stanch is a good one. This Bornwana, good centre-back. This in Checham, I don't know, actually. I actually have no clue who he is. Goodmanson looks actually quite decent in pre-season. Sean Longstaff, good midfielder. Lucas Perry, another good, like, first choice keeper actually. And then depth in terms of attack. They haven't signed massive, but I think they'll push well. But sadly, they are one of my other teams to be tipped to go down. I think Burnley will be last. I think they'll be second last. But I think it'll be like 2-3 match days before the end of the season. Not you're gone straight away. And then we move on to my club, Liverpool. We have sold a lot. Nunez, Trent, Kelleher, Kwanzaa, Diaz, Morton, Phillips, Doak, so on and so forth. But it's also people that Slot didn't trust, which is fair enough. But we have signed basically every target, bar one or two that I wanted this season. Hoyson was the other one I wanted, but when Real Madrid come calling, Trent. Masvidali, he came last, but we'll count now. Looks very good in pre-season. Very happy with him being my deputy keeper. Florian Wirtz, a British transfer record. Yes, people might be cooking him right now, but he's adapting to a league. We were playing in a strange way. Milos Kerkez, he had his pants down, like that fan that celebrated the Chiesa goal. He had his fucking pants down with Semenyo. I think he just needs to calm a little bit. Jeremy Frimpong, my God, does that kid have energy? This man runs like shit. So I'm very... He's going to be like a Trent He will definitely have some defensive errors, but as we've seen Slot did with Trent, he irons them out over time. Freddie Woodman, a good third choice keeper in case both of them get injured, like Barrios needed to be called in next season. Last season, this Pesky, he's an academy kid. And then that Giovanni Leone, I haven't seen too much of him, but I've seen like some of the stats and what people in Italy rave about him. We needed that defensive support because his head's in Madrid. We don't actually have any other centre-backs other than Joe Gomez. So I think we need to make 2 more signings. Mark Gay is the other one. And I'm sorry, Newcastle, but I want Isak. But then that brings us on to Hugo Ekitike. He's not the focal point of our team or our transfers. We want Isak. It's been very clear from day one. Isak is our guy. But my God, 2 games, 2 goals, 1 assist. This kid looks silky. I'm here for it. I like his energy as well. So, but then we have all of our players from last season. So I think we'll win the league again. Because I think I'll put this into... So City, I think, is still rebuilding. So they're our next team. They have signed a new goalkeeper. Let's see how he fares in the Premier League. But, okay. Ryan Cherky is another one who looks like he could ball, but they only played Wolves in the first game. So I'm like, okay, let's see how he does in bigger games like versus Arsenal, United, us. Aiton Yuri, he's good, but I feel like he'll be like Gvardiol again. Goes too far forward, he'll get found out. And I'm not too confident in their right back choices in Mateus Nunes and Rico Lewis. But I think they have found their little bit of creativity. Not the De Bruyne replacement per se, but someone who will keep them ticking over in Gianni Reinders. I think they will still be up the top, still compete, and I think they might win a trophy this season. I think they'll get a second, but I don't think it'll be as close as like other seasons. I just think Arsenal will bottle it bad, especially with Man City being back at their potentially one of their best. And then we move on to Manchester United. The biggest headache in world football is this club, I swear to fucking God. And it's actually quite interesting. And I know Amrind is renowned for talking some interesting stuff, but I don't think he was too far wrong in what he said in his post-match interview. Mbeumo and Cunha caused a lot of issues for Arsenal. The only problem is Arsenal's defence is quite good. If they played, say, a Wolves or a Leeds on the first day of the season, they could have won 3-0, 2-0. Mbeumo looks like that direct player that they've needed for a while. Cunha drives with that ball really well. Sesko, I didn't catch much of him because I didn't see the last half hour. They've got left-back support in this Paraguayan kid. I think they've got a goalkeeping issue and maybe a midfield issue. But I don't think they'll end up 15th. I'll put it this way. I think they'll be back up. And I think they might just scrape European football. I think they might just get 7th or 8th. No, 7th, 6th or 7th. They might get European, like Europa League or Conference. So I think that there's a chance for them because I think Amrin's finally like he's rooted out some people that he doesn't want and got that team ticking as much as you can do with stagnant water. And then we have Newcastle. They look out of ideas. There is no creativity in that team. there is no focal point in that team. I am sorry that we have caused this. Actually, it's quite funny to me. But you knew you were losing Callum Wilson on a free, and you knew Isak was going to be sought after. So early doors, you should have secured a striker. Yes, they have lost out on so many targets, and I do kind of feel sorry for them. But I also think it shows an inherent thing that is stuck with this club. If you go here, you are not fucking leaving. Even though it's under a different ownership. Alanga will be that main focal point on the right that they needed. Jacob Murphy was good last season, but they needed someone a bit more. I think Alanga will do that for them, and we've seen that versus Aston Villa. Malik Thior, I think, is a good young centre-back, and it's good to start replacing like Fabian Schär because he's like 34. The fact he still plays to a fucking good level is good. Ramsdale brings a different dynamic to goalkeeping in terms of distribution. So I think he'll be good. And Jacob Ramsey, I don't particularly rate him in my opinion. But with Champions League football, it's good, necessary rotation in my opinion. They just need a striker. And I think if they need two, Visser will be good. But then I think they need like a Calvert-Lewin, like a bulky striker that will just be there. I don't think they'll fall off. Do I think they get European football? No, I do not. I don't think they'll get European football. I think that they will be just a bit outside of where they need to be. So yeah, that's what I think. So next up we have Nottingham Forest. They have recruited interestingly, in my opinion. If there is one thing that they know how to do is they've got attacking talent. Ndoye is a good one. Igor Jesus looks good in the Club World Cup. Angus Gunn, decent backup. Amari Hutchinson, McAtee, and he has literally just been confirmed. Very, very good signings, in my opinion. They have the attacking depth to go deep in Europa League or whatever they end up with, Conference League. I don't know. So I think they've done quite well. But here's my issue. Where's the defensive depth? Like, they don't have any defensive depth whatsoever. And that's where it kind of struggles, because you need one injury to Murillo or what's his name? Mikalenkovic, and I think their defense kind of falls apart. Willy Bolly is about 800 years old and moves like a fucking bus. So I think they go in this category here. So yeah, that's where I think it'll be first, fourth, and then so 7, and then I'll do the numbers at the end because my brain is falling off. And then we have Sunderland. They have signed a lot of players. Is that worrying? Sometimes, yes. But their manager, I love him. He's good. He is like, we're not going to play like Man City, Liverpool, these big teams. We're fucking Sunderland, for crying out loud. I'm who I am. We're going to play our way in the way that we know how to. In a very dominant performance versus West Ham. They've proved that. They brought in a leader in Granit Xhaka. They brought in a very good winger in Adingra. They brought in one of the better young midfielders in Diarra. Enzo Lefebvre has already been there. He's been through it with them. That Mandava is a good, solid centre-back and left-back option. That Talbi is a very good direct winger. There's no wonder people wanted him in the summer. And then Mark Gui is a good young striker that is hungry. And I think they've recruited really well. That you can see where these people slot into their team, and they've got, I think it's Mukalele from PSG at right back, who's a position where I was like, really good. And I think they will be the team that break the mold. I think they stay up. I think they'll just they'll stay up but they'll prove a point, and I think they'll be one of the teams, I think, since Brentford to break the cycle about 4 years ago. So I think that's who stays up, in my opinion. Which is quite interesting too, I think is going to go down. So, and then we have Topspur. I like Ange. Ange was funny. He was Australian. But they have brought in players that they need. Danso is a good one to bring in. I don't know about that new centre-back. Matthias Tell is another good winger that can play in terms of Sonny. Kudus, yes, they spent big on him, and people were like, don't know where he fits in. Was so direct, caused so many issues for Burnley. And João Paulinho, if he can be that brute in midfield, that's who they need next to an energetic Bergvall, Papassar, Yves Bissouma. And I think that they will do a lot better. And especially with their link to Eze, as they've lost Maddison for the season. And I think they're linked to someone else. I think they'll do really well. Richarlison, I probably one of the most hated players in the Premier League for myself personally. I think they'll do quite well. So that's why they're not getting relegated. I think they get Europa League. I think this is where they'll finish. They'll finish just outside the top 5. Because they don't have European football this year. Oh, actually, they have Champions League football. I think they'll do well, actually. And then we have West Ham. They released a lot of dead weight. Tadebo's a good centre-back. Diouf looks really good. I had no clue who he was. Walker Peters is a very good backup. Mads Hermansen, I don't know why he's the number 1 keeper in my opinion. I think it should be Areola. And then Callum Wilson. Interesting. They should have kept Michael Antonio, in my opinion. But they needed to ship off a little bit more. Rodriguez is one of them. And they need to get like a bulky CDM. And I think Graham Potter is one of the first people that could be sacked this season. Because that was a dreadful performance versus Sunderland. Sunderland can have their credit where it's due. They played well. But there was no ounce. Like that midfield had nothing. Sunderland might as well have been playing Rondo around them. So I think they go here. I don't think they're going to do very well this season. And then that obviously leaves who I think is going to go. They lost a lot of people. They lost... Yes, Craig Dawson isn't good, but he was a pillar of their defence. Sarabia isn't a starter, but was clutching moments. Gonzalo Guedes, less said about him. Ain't Nuri and Cunha. Semedo as well. Are 3 people I'm looking at here and going, shit. And they haven't really replaced them with anyone. I don't know who that Fer Lopez is, to be perfectly honest with you. But Stred Larson, there's going to be a lot of weight on his shoulders. And Huang Hee-chan and that Joan Arias to replicate what Cunha did for them. Because Cunha he literally was like 41% of their goals. And Ain't Nuri is probably one of the most solid left backs in like a bottom team I've ever seen. And okay, they got a wolf to match their logo to replace him. I just don't see them staying up. I think they survived by the skin of their teeth for 2 years in a row. It's time to go, in my opinion. So, working from the top down, I think Liverpool will win. They will be first. I don't think we'll wrap up the league in April. I think we'll do it at the beginning of May. And then I think it's Man City second, Arsenal third, Chelsea fourth. Spurs will get fifth, Aston Villa sixth, and Man United seventh. And then Newcastle 8th, Nottingham Forest 9th, Brighton 10th, 11th Bournemouth, 12th Everton, 13th Fulham, I can't count, 14th Palace, 15th West Ham, 16th Brentford, 17th Sunderland, 18th, 19th and 20th will all be Wolves, Leeds and Burnley. And that's literally based off of transfers and what I've seen in game week 1. We might, if we organise enough, we are changing the dynamic behind the scenes of this channel. We might do a halfway through the season update based on where the teams are, how they've played, and where we think they're going to be going towards the end of the season. So, yeah. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you think I'm having a disaster class? Or do you think this man has ball knowledge? Ish. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching this video. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.